Good morning, everybody. I'm here.
Okay, well, welcome everyone. My name, for anyone that doesn't know, is Kathy Rutherford, and I'm president of the Democrats of the Red Rocks. And welcome to this beautiful Thursday morning. We're going to get started on the program very quickly this morning because some of our speakers have a really tight schedule. Our program this morning is going to be on getting out the vote. And I did want to let everyone know that I'm going to do a report at the end of the meeting to go over the races that happened during the primary. And there was one race in particular that was a bellwether race that really points to the fact that we need to get out the vote. It is going to be so critically important this season. It always is. It just seems like that's the way it is now. And especially this year, there are so many right-wing Republicans running against some of our Democratic candidates. We have to get out the vote. So if you haven't already signed up to volunteer, please do that. You can put your name in the chat and a person from our volunteer committee will connect with you. We need to talk to voters. We need to convince them that this is not just an ordinary midterm election. This election is critical. So please volunteer if you haven't already. Talk to all your friends to do the same. And when it comes close to when you get your ballot in the mail, probably everyone here is signed up for ballot by mail. Call your 5 friends, call your 10 friends. If you're really, really loved by tons of people, like 30 and 50, call them all and tell them to vote. It is going to be critical this year. And so I'm going to turn it over to Ellen Ferreira. She is our program chair for Democrats of the Red Rocks, and she does a fabulous job. And I'm going to turn the program over to her now.
Thank you. Thanks, Kathy. We will go in reverse order this time on our breakfast. Normally, we start with our announcements, and Kathy will tell us about the film club and everything that's coming up for DORR. However, because a couple of our guests have prior commitments and their time with us is limited, we wanted to switch the order. So we will do a little, Kathy will do a little bit of a recap of the election results from the primary. And we will talk about our announcements and other important things coming up where you can pick up lawn signs and stuff like that at the end of this program. So hang on, do not leave. We have got a great lineup of guests this morning. I'm really excited about every single one of them. And I can't see exactly who else is on this call. I know we have our candidate for mayor, Scott Jablow, is with us. So thanks for being with us, Scott. Our first speaker this morning knows a lot about getting out the vote. She is chair of the Arizona Democratic Party. She is also a state senator. She represents, I believe you represent Maryvale, don't you?
Parts of Maryvale,
Parts of Maryvale, which is where my husband, Richard Ferreira, grew up. So we have an affinity towards that area. And we're so glad that you're able to be with us. Tell us a little bit about what the party is doing, how we're going to get out the vote. We all know this is really a critical time. So Raquel, welcome to Democrats of the Red Rocks.
Thank you, Ellen, and thank you, Kathy, and everybody for showing up today. Starting to show up is the first step. So we, not that you are starting today, and we know that you meet constantly. So I'm just so grateful to be here in a beautiful day out here in Arizona, and it looks so lovely in Sedona, and I'm happy to be joining you all virtually from Phoenix. Thank you again for being here and for allowing me to speak to you all. We are at such a critical moment, and it makes me so hopeful to see individuals in all corners of the states ready to turn Arizona blue again. Mindful that we are fighting for that title to be making sure it's blue. We've been hitting the ground running now that we have our nominees. One of the biggest ways we plan to get out the vote in November is by making it clear of what is at stake this election. whether that's abortion rights, our democracy, water conservation, education, you name it, this election will decide the future of those issues in Arizona. So we're working with our nominees and our national partners to make sure that we're up on TV with ads highlighting the extreme positions the Republicans are taking and also showcasing our candidates. But we know that so much of that work is done at the doors and on the phones, connecting with voters. Our data team was able to pull a new list of Native American voters that is being used. Are we good? I heard an echo, but you all can hear me well, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, I was just hearing that our data team was able to pull a new list of Native American voters that is being used to phone bank every week leading up to November. We will continue to lean on our data team to ensure that we are pinpointing those voters who will make the difference in November. So our team here at the Arizona Democratic Legislative Campaign Committee is also very busy canvassing during the week and every weekend, and many of our statewide candidates join him for these actions that are happening in their districts to speak frankly with the voters. So that's another way that we're making sure that folks know the importance of voting this November. We're counting, we're continuing to develop tools we can use so that we can, when November 8th comes around, Arizona voters know that they need to be where they need to be and when they need to vote, and also who they need to be voting for. We will have a tool up on our website with very clear information for people to share and people to use. We'll be leaning on the many relationships that we have with our partner organizations like Planned Parenthood, Save Our Schools, and the local unions to combine our resources and get out the vote. What I would ask of you all is that you sign up for these phone banks, for these canvases, and reach out to those local campaigns for school board, for county attorney, and see how you can help. What is going to make a difference in November is the conversations. That is a key. Face-to-face conversations. Your time is the most valuable resource to these campaigns and to the party. We are confident that voters will see the stark differences between our candidates and the MAGA extremists in the Republican Party. But we can't rely on ads and social media alone. We need everybody on board. And I know I'm probably preaching to the choir because all of you are in this room right now, and that shows how committed you are. So we are just so grateful for you being here, that for your dedication, and let us make sure that we're getting involved in every single level. And with that, I'll turn it over for Ellen, and I'm open for questions. If there's time, Ellen, I'm not sure.
Yeah, there is time.
Oh, good.
That would be great. Thank you. Okay, gang, this is the time. We have the head of the Democratic Party and a state senator here with us. This is the time to ask the questions that you've been thinking of.
Okay, wait, I'm on. Hi, Raquel. It's nice to meet you on Zoom. I have an organization that we can't, two organizations that we can't really cross. But if you stay for my presentation with my partner, Tracy, you'll see some of what we're doing on the IE level that we can't talk about. But one of the questions I have is, how are you going to get to voters how extreme these people are? I mean, they really want a dictatorship. So I'm just wondering how you communicate that, not just they're evil or they're crazy or whatever, but they really want to take away democracy. So I'm just wondering what the party is planning for that.
Well, it's going to be extremely important that we are up on TV and that we are, you know, putting our message out in a very escalated level, in a very that we are massively on media, that we are massively on social media, and that we have the boots on the ground. So I mentioned that we hit the ground running once we had the nominees. And that's because we had Mission for Arizona since June of last year on the ground. And frankly, I am very proud that this is the earliest that we've ever had our coordinated campaign on the ground. And I know that we have a lot of doors that we will need to connect with. We have a lot of voters that we need to connect with during these next 83 days. But that effort at the doors is what's going to make the difference. And yes, we need to be very direct too about what these extreme candidates represent, right? They do represent ending democracy. They do represent a ban on abortion. They do represent, they want to eliminate public education. And those are the realities. And what we advise our candidates is that not to shy away from those issues that are on top of mind of Arizona voters. And frankly, I really believe that that is how we won last time around. That's how Joe Biden won in 2020. And we're mindful that we won by a little bit. That's how Mark Kelly won in 2020. And even Senator Sinema, even though some of us might disagree on some of her positions, that was the approach of showing that we are truly representing Arizona values. That's what we call it, that we are really representing Arizona values, contrary to what the Republican Party is showcasing. The other thing is that coming off the bat, that we can show that we are united, right? The Republicans are showing that they still, even after the primary, who can kiss Donald Trump's ring the fastest. So that also shows a lot of the contrast. But just to sum it up again, is like continuing this work on the ground and on the phones is so important in the next 84 days. And even if we don't want to admit it, the campaigns are about two things. It's about reaching voters, contacting voters. It's also about the resources. It's about the money. So there's, I'm proud to say that as soon as our nominees we had our nominees, we had the infrastructure here at the party where all these national partners are putting in the resources to execute through the party so that we could do these buy-ins. So we've already had $1.5 million from the DGA, the Democratic Governors Association, the State Secretary of State, national infrastructures have also reserved some of those dollars to make sure that the message is on TV. And like Alan said, my background is on organizing, and so we have to have the simultaneous strategy. So that's a long answer.
Do you prefer that we go negative against the MAGA people or positive in favor of our people if you've got limited time on the phone or at the front door with people?
I think like one of the things is that we can't shy away from being negative. And many people want to just speak about the positive, but we have to do both. And when you're phone banking, you most likely have you'll know, you can see who you're phone banking. If we're phone banking our base, we talk about how phenomenal our candidates are, and also not only get them to commit, but get them in the door to come and do phone banking as well with us. But when we're doing persuasion, I think it's important that we do show the contrast. And it's the challenge is being able to show the contrast and not just stay negative. No, you're not just voting against somebody, but that you actually have somebody to vote for. Then that's the difference. But so we've gotten the Arizona Republic's attacks per se of saying that we are just campaigning on the fact that people are Trumper, so that people are MAGA people because we call them the MAGA GOP. But we have to expose how extreme these candidates are, and to the point that the Alan, Kathy, and Joanne just made, is like these folks are threatening our democracy. They're threatening people's rights. And so I think it's important that we do present the case of what's at risk. Although we have limited time, and you have many times you gauge with every voter, like as you're having the conversation, but I think that people are very in tune into how extreme Republicans have the extreme rhetoric and the extreme postures of each of these Republicans.
I wanted to say that when I canvass my neighborhood group tomorrow, I have 30 Republicans and Democrats in Highland Estates that I'm going to try to recruit to, one of 6 things. But I made a list. I studied some websites for Attorney General, Governor, Secretary of State, and Senate. And I did a bullet list. For example, Carrie Lake, Fox News anchor, says abortion is ultimate sin. Border security, NRA. And Blake Masters, impeach Biden, nationalism, against gay marriage, anti-abortion, gun advocate, finish the wall, privatize Social Security. So I did that for Attorney General and Secretary of State also. I sent this to Linda Scott and Ellen and Toby and some others this morning, and DORR. But then it says, now you see why we all have to work hard to elect Democrats, ways to make a difference. Tell me which way you're going to help. Make calls, canvass, write postcards, send text, donate to campaigns, be a poll watcher, or vote early or on November 8th. And then we give them the postcard that they sign that says that they're going to vote, and then we're not going to bother them again, as I understand it. But to answer Ellen's question, I'm going negative.
I love it. I love it.
Because positive hasn't worked a lot.
Yeah, and I is it Creed? What I see, what's your name?
Carol.
Carol. Okay, I was seeing your name here on the screen. There is I love that point. There's a rap that we use that I was taught when I first started organizing, that was used by the farm worker movement. And the mission for Arizona folks will train folks, or your counties will train you, and all of us have different things on our script. But as you were talking, I was thinking about what we call the ahui. And so ahui stands for anger, right? The agitation. And let's not forget that agitation without a relationship is aggravation. So making sure that we're introducing ourselves and letting them know that we're good people in the community, advocating for our state. But figure, like, the agitation is how extreme these folks are, right? That Masters is calling. Like Masters is calling abortion demonic. Carrie Lake wants to have video cameras in your children's schools. Yes, we need to really agitate that anger. The hope is that there's an election and we can get rid of them and we have good candidates. And the urgency is that the election is 84 days around the corner, and the why is you commit to voting. So I always try to keep that script in mind: the ahui, agitation, hope, urgency, and you. So when that's what I do at the doors, and I try to do at the phones.
All right, thank you. We have a question about what efforts are being made to reach Hispanic voters.
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's not only the Spanish voters, the Latino community in Arizona. We can't say all of them are Spanish speakers, but Latinos in the state of Arizona, we are 30% of the population, and we are extremely important. And our vote has to be taken into account in each of these campaigns. That's why here at the Arizona Democratic Party, our Latino voters have been part of our universe of people that we are connecting with since last year. Last year, the mission for Arizona folks, we're having intentional phone bank conversations on relationship building with Latino voters. Some of those conversations did happen in Spanish. There is a whole operation within Mission for Arizona that is focused for Spanish speakers, but then there was also the universe that includes Latino voters. At the Arizona Democratic Party, one of the specific things that we did this primary, and I'm really proud of doing that, is that we had a primary get out the vote effort where we were on digital, because Latino communities really receive at a very high level, receive information through social media. So we were on social media, we were on video, on live stream, on billboards, and on radio. So we had a paid campaign. The campaign was "Es nuestro partido." This is our party. And we weren't talking about any candidate, because the Democratic Party cannot talk about candidates before the primary. So our goal during that campaign was to ensure that our Latino voters came out and voted in the primary, because we all know if a voter votes in the primary, then we have 95 to 98% chance that this voter will come out in the general election. So we have, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but like that effort had more than 3 million impressions on social media. We had more than 38,000 visits to the website. The numbers were really great. At the end of the day, as a Latina and somebody who has been organizing around the Latino community for so long, urge all our candidates to make sure that we have intentional relationships and campaigns that engage Latino communities. And so we have been doing that in the Arizona Democratic Party. Frankly, the Republicans know what's at stake in the state of Arizona and factor in the Latino vote. So know that the Republicans do have about, Republicans do have about 25% of Latino voters. So it only takes a little bit for them to tip away that, like, maybe 5-10% that can make a difference. So it's important that as we move forward as the Arizona Democratic Party, and even to a national level, to be frank, is that we cannot come into the Latino community and ask for the support without having a solid relationship. But I feel that we have also done that part. So now it's gonna, we hope, I think it's going to show at the polls. And last but not least, we see our candidates. Senator Mark Kelly is on Univision, on Telemundo, on Spanish language radio, and that's a push from everybody on the ground that he's really taken that, factored into his campaign. It was not a matter if there are resources left, but it's an early investment. So we have seen Mark Kelly's campaign up and running. So I'm optimistic that we will see that from the other statewide candidates, because it cannot be an afterthought.
Thank you. We have a question from Toby Friedman. How do we get access to messages in Spanish for the Latino community? I assume, Toby, you mean Spanish language, slate cards and things like that, or whatever persuasive messaging the party has. Will that be disseminated down to the local levels?
Toby, you know what, we'll follow up with that, because that would be through Mission for Arizona, but I know that they do have some of that the content in Spanish.
Okay, and we do have a representative that's staying in Sedona, someone from Mission, Caroline, I cannot remember her last name, but we could talk to her and see what she can. Carolyn Hastings, yes, thanks, Lama. And so maybe she can help us access that. Yes. Gloria Brown has a question, and Gloria, why don't you state this so that you get across exactly what you're talking about, what you mean.
Okay, so there's a new third party that was announced with Whitman from New Jersey and Yang, wherever he's living these days, I think in Georgia, there's about 4 Republican and Democrats who are forming a third party. And I'm wondering, are they going to have any effect on this coming election, or is their plan for a third party for 2024?
I think I don't have the answer to that. I don't know about that particular party, but I'll tell you that, I mean, we all know here in Arizona, it's a third Democrat, a third Republican, and a third independent. And so, or not registered with a particular party. And so we have seen how important the independent voters are to our wins in Arizona. Our coalition does not win without, has won because they have been able to build that coalition where you can bring in independents, and even up to a certain extent, you can bring in Republican voters. I think that that's not going to go away. And and so we either, as a party, I mean, we always talk about the big tent party. So we are as welcoming as we can be, but I also see that people like to be independent. And I think that that's going to grow throughout the country. I'm not sure how that particular effort will move forward for 2024, but I do think that independents here in Arizona are not going too far. We do continue to see, though, that, you know, we do have a really good opportunity to engage the current independent voters, because our positions are what I said earlier, Arizona values, right? We're talking about the issues that people care about. And even though we have to go negative many times to expose the extremity of the Republican Party, we do come back to the issues that people care about the most.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And I put in the chat, I put our website for Es Nuestro Partido. All of it is in Spanish and in English. You all could take a look at it. And it was branded with, it was a campaign that was done by a Latina communication firm, and by Latinos for Latinos. So I think that it really resonated with our communities. And I said I didn't have the numbers. I just want to like share a little bit more about those. We have 44,000 visits to our website. We had 3.4 million impressions on social media. We had over 1,000 radio spots that were aired, and billboards. There was 20, because you know the billboards nowadays are also digital. There was 21 million impressions on those billboards. So like those are high numbers, and it's not enough. We still have to do more. And that was an investment directly from the Arizona Democratic Party.
That's awesome. I would love, because I know your time is limited, I would love it if you could stay on for a little bit more, Raquel, and listen to our next presenters, because they've got a lot to say. They're helping in Arizona tremendously. These people are friends of ours and have been since 2018. Their organization, which was called something different before, it is now the Democratic Messaging Project, but their organization brought the rolling billboards that we used many places in Arizona. They targeted specific districts. Our LD6, we used to be LD6, was one of them. We had rolling billboards in 2018 and in 2020 for Coral Evans and Felicia French and Mark Kelly, and they were so generous with their time and so thoughtful about planning that. And this group, the Democratic Messaging Project, has gone on to do much bigger and better things, not better, but great things. And so we're really pleased to have Tracy Sherman, who I've spoken to many times, and Joanne Lulan. They are the founders of this organization, and they've got some dynamite billboards that are fixed billboards now in Phoenix area. And I think they're looking for more places in Arizona to place these billboards, but they're going to explain what they're doing and show you some of what is now up in Phoenix. So thank you so much, and welcome to Joanne and Tracy. You're such good friends, and we appreciate everything you've been doing for us.
Well, thank you very much. I
Thank
appreciate
you,
it.
Ellen. Yeah.
I just wanted to, it's important to me that the chair of the Democratic Party of Arizona hear what you have to say and see what you're doing.
Yes, thank you. And I'm taking a medication that makes my voice sound very gravelly, but I'm totally fine. We're glad to be here, and it's two different organizations. I just want to say, Local Majority writes papers for state legislative candidates on issues that they want to know. So anybody that wants to see what our papers are this time for Arizona, just get on localmajority.org. But what we're going to present today is our static billboards that the Democratic Messaging Project has put up, because we believe that nobody knows what Democrats have really done and what Republicans are doing to try and get it. So we're the ones that get to be negative, and we're putting up these billboards all over Arizona, and I will show you some of them now. Can I share my screen? Ellen?
You should be.
Yes,
able
you are a co-host, so you should
Okay.
be able to share your screen.
Great, here it is. So I'm just going to start with, I'm going to show them one at a time. And here's the one about big oil and about how all of your Republicans voted against voted against big business on all levels, but big oil price gouge. And then let me move to the next one. So
I just want to add one thing if I can. This particular billboard is at a really large intersection in Phoenix, and it literally faces a gas station with these enormous lines of people, you know, filling their tanks up with gas.
So here's another one. Let me make sure. I'm always confused about how I think I have to stop each one and show you the next one, which is a confusing thing on. So here's another one. Speaking of Spanish, that we're doing in both Spanish and English. And can you see that okay? Am I doing this correctly?
Yes.
So that's another one that we're doing. And let me get to the next one. Sorry, I'm a little not exactly sure. So here's another one that we're doing. We call it Beanie Girl, but talking about how the Arizona Republicans want to take away your right to abortion. And by the way, I want to say to everybody, especially to the party who I'm not allowed to talk to, because this is independent expenditures, but I think it's crucial for young people. They are not thinking about abortions. They have never had that restricted, but telling them that the Arizona State Party, and I can send everybody the information because we wrote a paper about it, Local Majority did, that talks about how they're going to get rid of birth control next because they don't believe in science and they believe that birth control is an abortant. I've been telling people this for 8 years and nobody believed me. And here it is. 30 states are all lined up to make birth control illegal. So that is what's next. And young people have got to know this about why it's crucial that they vote. They don't care about the other stuff. If pot was legal, was on the ballot, they'd show up for that. But I want people to really use birth control and don't say contraceptives. Most people have no idea what a contraceptive is. And then we did ones on the background checks about how Arizona House Republicans voted against universal background checks. Then, sorry, I know this is awkward, but I don't know how else to do it. Here's another one about this is a fight for our freedom. and we left it at freedom because they're taking away all of our freedoms. The fact that they took away women's freedom so easily is extremely dangerous and frightening. So this is another one. Let's see, what have I not shown you?
Elections matter. Let's do the elections matter one. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me do this one and get off. But this is the drug prices one. And then we're changing this for the Inflation Reduction Act, and I'll show you. But first of all, let's go to our abortion one. Several of these, or abortion for sure, is going to be in more than one place, you'll see. So our billboard company would not let us say abortion gone, even though we all know since the fall of Roe, there have been no abortions performed in Arizona. And they're in fact letting women die and charging them with felonies. So this one is going to be up everywhere. Can you see it?
No.
No.
Okay, sorry. It's somehow not. Okay, screen share.
And these are mostly in the Phoenix area?
Phoenix and Tucson.
Where is this one? Why can't I find it? Yeah.
Where, can we get them in other areas?
Well, they're expensive.
Yeah.
And believe me, what we've done to fight for these, of course, the most important one is not showing up now. I'm gonna have to find it.
I'll tell them a little bit while you look for that. So we had a very interesting experience with Clear Channel. Clear Channel, as you guys may be aware, owns a lot of the billboard real estate in the state of Arizona, as does Outfront. And then I don't think Lamar's in Arizona, but we're working with Lamar in other states. Clear Channel was by far the most difficult company to work with. I mean, they made us jump through so many hoops. And when they saw this ad that Joanne is trying to get up, we think that unglued them. I mean, it went so far as we almost had to bring our legal counsel in because they were making things so impossible for us. And really, I think just trying to wear us down so that we said, forget about it. But we were not be deterred.
Absolutely not. And of course, here they are interfering again. I cannot get it back on my screen. It's only letting me show the ones I haven't shown yet. And I have no idea where it's gone, but I'm going to show you this while I keep looking, because this is our one for the Inflation Reduction Act. It's going to be slightly altered a bit. Can you see it? There we go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there you go. And while this one, and Tracy, if you could talk about this, I'm going to try and find that billboard.
This is
Well,
great.
I just had actually kind of a thought, which I haven't shared with Joanne today, but part of what got us started on our mission for the Democratic Messaging Project was this feeling that the media was absolutely not reporting on the accomplishments of the Biden administration and Democrats. And I'm sure all of you who read the news understand what we're saying about that. I mean, it just feels kind of like, where are they? Anyway, I don't need to belabor that point. This morning, I'm looking at the New York Times, CNN, Washington Post, every story. Well, the first top stories were all Trump. Everything was Trump, 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 Trump. He just sucks the oxygen out of the room. I searched for articles on this Inflation Reduction Act, which is truly historic. I mean, it's going to have far-reaching implications well into the, for years and years and years to come. And it has a lot to offer just everyday Americans in terms of money saving. Not a story I could find anywhere. And I don't know about anybody else, but are you seeing this too?
Yes. And I think it's very, very unfortunate that the Inflation Reduction Act, the passage and the signing are coinciding with all that's happening with the documents in Mar-a-Lago and Giuliani being indicted and all these things, because they are stealing the airtime. And this is a second-rate story, despite the fact that billions and billions are going out and so many people will be helped. And it's second-class news at this point. So the timing is really bad.
Yeah,
You know,
and
Ellen, it's not just second, but it's almost like, you know, it doesn't have to maybe be the top story if for a newspaper, but it should be a story. And it's like not even being, it's not anywhere, at least not today. I'm hoping that's going to change.
and even on our supposed friends,
Right.
MSNBC, CNN, I was at a lunch with Speaker Pelosi on Tuesday, and she was saying, we have no friends in the media, and she's absolutely right. Absolutely right. New York Times, Washington Post, the headlines will say, you know, Biden losing points. And then you'll hear he's the most amazing legislative president in the history of the presidency. Anyway, I could not find the one for Arizona, Tracy. You will go. They're
No,
at
but here it is. Well, this might not be.
It's the same one we're putting up in Arizona. This is what we're putting up in Arizona all over.
Yeah.
So just want you to know.
Yeah, this one is going to be on 1, 2, 3, 4 different boards.
And if anybody wants to know, and I could send it to you, Ellen and Kathy, so that you can see Tracy's husband, who is such a great part of our whole team. He put together pictures and actual what it will look like if you drive past it, where the billboards actually are, if people want to know where they actually are. If you have friends in Phoenix and in Tucson area, and they're big, you know, those are big areas. So this is big areas. I would really love it if people took candid shots. We've got formal shots of them from the billboard company, but we would love to get, you know, candid shots. Here I'm seeing this, or even get themselves in it. I don't know if you can because they're high up and they're near, but they're huge. So it would be great. The other little thing that Tracy didn't say is you can see down here is a phone number. As I said, this one's in Philly, so it's a Philly phone number. But we have the ones in Arizona have an Arizona phone number. They told us the FEC has very specific things, as you can see this paid for thing, and it has to have your website. And so, but suddenly when they got to the abortion one, Clear Channel wouldn't let us put our website. And you know what they said to me? They said, we'll write you a note for the FEC that we wouldn't let you put your website. And I, of course, just laughing my ass off saying, if you could write a note to the FEC and they care what a billboard company says, I really want you to say that it's okay for me to take money from foreign entities. Let's do that one. You might as well do that because that'll really help us. I was so insane. So at any rate, these are the billboards we're putting up, and we want everyone to know. The other thing that we're going to do is to put about $25,000 worth of digital ads that are going specifically for candidates and specifically for the Democratic Party, like what we just put up, even more saucy though. We've got one that the billboard company wouldn't do about how 81% of your elected Republicans in the state of Arizona did something to overturn the 2020 election. So we've got lots of information that the billboard company would not let us put up. So we're going to do that one on digital media. We're going to do all kinds of stuff on digital media, just so you know.
Yeah. So our digital media campaign, just to follow up on this, our digital media campaign is meant to amplify our billboard messaging project, which, by the way, is many of our billboards are up now, and they will be running all the way through Election Day. We will be starting our digital campaign, layering on top of the billboards, no later than September 1, hopefully a little sooner. We've got a great graphic designer on our team, Scotty Sando. And his work is phenomenal. We're going to be in our digital campaigns, we will be targeting Democrats, Democrat-leaning independents, low propensity Democratic voters. We're going to go for the youth vote, and we are going to go for people of color across the wide spectrum. And we plan to put about, based on our current budget, we think we're going to have around 1.5 million ads that will be running in total throughout the state of Arizona. Now, of course, we would love to expand our footprint, our digital footprint in Arizona, as well as the other states that we're working in, which, by the way, are Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan, all, as you know, hugely important states. So if anybody is interested in learning more about what we're doing, or if you wish to donate and help the effort, you can go to our website, which is blue4you, BLUEFORYOU.org. And you can read about our work. And then, of course, there's a donate button if you want to do that. And I will put that website into the chat.
And I was, while Tracy's doing that, I was seeing Kathy and Chris that you had a question of how much would it cost to do a board in your area, which we would be more than happy to do. We now have the whole system down, but it would vary, and it depends on when you'd want it to start. But our billboards that were all supposed to start August 1st, but Clear Channel helped mess that up for 2 weeks and go through November 8th. They range anywhere from about, we've paid for the whole flight, between $5,400 and $15,000 for a board. So we'd have to have our vendors look. We'd be glad to do it for you. So if you just let us know, Kathy, and you can get a hold of me and Tracy, if you'd put both our emails in the chat, that'd be great. But I'm Joanne Lulin at gmail.org or joanne@democraticmessaging.org. And we're glad to do that because now we know how to do it in Arizona. I mean, the difference, for instance, that 81% of your elected Republicans at all levels did something to overturn 2020. Every single one of them, every elected Republican in your state, 81% of them did. In Pennsylvania, Mastriani is running for governor, and in Pennsylvania, the governor can appoints the lieutenant governor and the secretary of state. So he would be able to decide whether or not to send fake electors for the next presidential, for instance. They let us put up a big billboard. He was there with a picture of January 6th because it was a different billboard company. It was Lamar, which is more liberal. So I'm just saying, we know now what the parameters are, and we can send you, those billboards again, so you can see which one you want. I'm assuming abortion threatened and birth control, because as we see, that is going to be a big motivator for intermittent voters and for young voters. And back to
wait, I wanted to just jump in on the question about additional billboards. My understanding, I can't remember, is it Ellen or was it Toby? One of you had reached out to me, Steve at El Portal Hotel. Look, about
it was Toby. Toby reached out to you.
Thanks, Toby. Anyway, Steve and I actually talked. He said that there are no billboards in Sedona.
Not in Sedona, but along the 260 corridor in the Verde Valley area, which is actually more of a swing area that we wanted to target. So along the 260 corridor, there are some billboards, and that would be a wonderful location. I was thinking especially for the one about the Infrastructure Act, because it hits the three: gas, pharma, that people up in this particular area are more focused on due to our demographics.
So
you said something Verde? I'm sorry, Joanne.
Yeah, it runs between Cottonwood and Camp Verde on the 260.
Camp Verde? Okay.
I would ask you to send us very specifics about that, so we can send it to our vendor.
And if you guys are potentially interested in, I mean, we could look into availability and cost, circle back with you guys. And if there is a way that you might get a group of people together who want to purchase one of those billboards, we would be happy to help you with that.
Right.
That would be awesome.
Will you have
Yeah.
other versions instead of just the billboards? I mean, if we could get that, your messaging, your graphics, I mean, they're very eye-catching, they're succinct, they are just hit hard. I mean, it's great messaging, just kudos. But is it possible to get it in other more easy to distribute and lower cost versions? Like I think Freddie brought up bumper stickers. I think stickers would be great. I'd love the image to be the backdrop on my Facebook profile page. You know, I mean, are there ways that we can get it digitally just to saturate these images and messages?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll ask our artist to put them all up digitally. You can take anything you want, everything's free. You could print it. That would be fabulous.
Great.
We have a lot of people here who really enjoy writing postcards, and I'm thinking these would be such fabulous postcards.
Yeah.
No, that'd be
People-
great. That would be fabulous.
Yeah, this is Kathy. Would we be able to also use those images for our social media, put it up on the
Absolutely.
Facebook page and?
Absolutely. And you can follow us on social media. Tracy and I are the worst people to ask, but it's on our website, all our social media. So you could follow us and use anything there that you see, because there's a lot more than these billboards, but you absolutely can use whatever it is that you want on your social media. We'll offer them to, you guys could offer them to our candidates. You know, I've registered all the candidates that we're going to support. And as an independent expenditures PAC, but we can't talk to them. We can't send this stuff on to them at all. But you guys could send it on to all the candidates. That would be awesome. And any activist groups, because I know there's, you know, activist indivisible groups all over Arizona.
Yes.
If you guys got together and did a printing, Vistaprint is so cheap, although it'd be great if you have a local and you guys could put them all together and distribute them, it would be fabulous. And if you do, we'd love pictures of it.
So are the digital copies that are going to be up, do they have your disclaimer at the bottom?
Yeah,
paid
and they
for
have
by-
to have that on there.
So can we edit that out if we indeed pay for to get it printed? That's
Let
what
me
I'm
ask my lawyer about that, because I don't
Okay.
want to get anybody in trouble.
Yeah, that would be good to know, because you won't be paying to print it. So, you know, we
Right.
have to follow those rules too. So we got to figure that piece out. Yeah.
But we
Lawn
would
signs,
just,
I was
it would
thinking
be,
lawn signs too. Could potentially be another
True. Lawn signs would be great.
Mhm.
yeah,
way to utilize this creative, like mini billboards. I'm
Mhm.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
And you could, you know, then add your candidates' names on there. You know, we didn't do that only because the billboards are so, you go by so quickly, although they're up for 2.5 months, but they go by so quickly that we couldn't put too many words on. That's part of why I appreciate you thinking they're succinct, because believe me, with our people who have guided us on the messaging that does research everywhere, and our own selves trying to come down to as few words as possible, but get the message out. Like the Inflation Act is so complex, but we wanted to put stuff out there. You know, one of the things, I don't know if if the party's still on, but and I can't talk to you.
No, she's
But
gone. She left.
oh, okay. So one
Yeah.
of the things that I think is so important is that you talk about what is going to be. But, you know, people keep saying, oh, this stuff is in the future. It's in the future. No, it's not. My husband, and I use him as an example, and I'm sure you know many people. He has Obamacare, which you're not supposed to say Obamacare. That's not a good thing. But his premiums got reduced from $1,100 to $260, just him, because I'm old enough to have Medicare. And now they were going to go back up to $1,100 on September 1. Now they will be kept at $260. And people do not even know that. And the whole thing about negotiating Medicare Medicare drugs. It doesn't happen until 26, but starting starting January 1st, I think it actually is all Medicare will be capped at $2,000. It doesn't matter what
Prescription,
it costs.
prescription
All
drugs.
prescription drugs will be capped at $2,000 for anyone on Medicare. So when they say they can't negotiate until 26, in my opinion, this is a huge negotiation. I, for one, spent about $7,000 out of pocket, and I have every supplement you can have to pay for things. I spend about $7,000 a year on drugs. So for me to leave, gain $5,000 a year, and for my husband's insurance to gain $800 a month, that's going to be huge, huge.
These are the things people should be talking about.
Is this stuff
Exactly.
going to happen as of September 1st? It's
So-
not everything. Huge things are going to happen September 1st. Changing your house to electric, or putting up solar panels, or getting an electric car is going to be 30% off. That's federal taxes. And if in Arizona and California, we have another $750, $7,500 off. And in Arizona, they probably don't give you anything, knowing Arizona politics, but they might. And so, but you can get 30% off that car. So someone on TV was going through, Kia cost $12,000. If you got 30% off of that ticket price, it would be unbelievable for people to switch to electric. So the stuff that's happening for all of these things is phenomenal. What will happen on September 1st? So people need to start talking, instead of saying it won't happen for months and in Medicare years. It's not true. It's not true at all. It's the media
Joanne,
will not report this stuff.
I just want to, there's a number of questions, so I know our time is probably short here. Ellen, do we have any more, or do you need
Your
us
time
to-
is short here. We have some
Okay.
larger questions. I just wanted you to tell the group, well, first of all, everyone should know that you're doing such great work, and if we can support you financially in any way, we should. And I just want you to mention the fundraiser that you had and who your speaker was. I know you
Andy
guys have to go.
Borowitz.
Say it again.
Andy Borowitz from the New York Times, the satirist.
We're all
And the New
huge
Yorker.
fans.
And the New Yorker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was so
I
great.
just want to answer, Ellen, I want to just answer a couple of questions that came over the chat before we zip off here.
Okay.
There was a question about billboards along I-17 south of Flagstaff, which we will look into. And I did want to let you guys know that we actually do have a billboard on I-17 currently. It's at that's Black Canyon Highway, and it's at Grant. I'm trying to read my writing on this spreadsheet. North, I can get you the specific, but it's in the Phoenix metro, but on I-17. So we do have one of those, but we'll look into the area south
What
of
we'll do
Flagstaff.
is I will send the thing that
Right.
her husband put together painstakingly to show you exactly where every billboard is and what it
Uh-huh.
said. And let me
That
say,
was good.
Toby said it has to be an American-made car. Don't forget, all those companies have now factories in the United States. So you can buy a Toyota, you can buy a plug-in Kia, you can buy all these because they are made in America. So just to say.
And last, Kathy and Chris had their hands up. So what was I just wanted to find out if you guys had a quick question.
Chris did.
Yeah, I just wanted to know because I'm also so frustrated with MSNBC and people really don't know what Biden has done. So I don't know how many people know about Robert Hubble and get his letter every day. It's called Today's Edition newsletter. And what he did, I think last week, his heading was memorize this. And he listed everything that Biden has done and how it affects people. And I actually want to make copies of it and even laminate it and hand it out to all of us, first of all, to really memorize it.
What's
to have
his
our
name?
talking point. His
What-
name is Robert Hubble, and his newsletter every day, and it's free. It's free in your inbox. It's called Today's Edition Newsletter. And he is fabulous. And he sends out these things that are not mentioned on TV at all for people to know. And once in a while, he does memorize this, and he sends out usually every great thing Biden has done.
That's
And,
nice. It would be
so-
great to do that as an email to everyone. We could have
Yes,
a link, and so if you would work with Shelley on that, that would be great.
Okay.
Chris, and we'll send it out to our email list. I'd love to have it.
yeah, it's really
I
wonderful.
put
That's
it
all.
on,
And
I
I
put
think
it on
what,
Facebook. I don't know if you saw it, Chris. I put it on Facebook, the 7 things that he listed
to
too.
memorize,
That's-
yeah.
He's terrific. Listen, I know Tracy and Joanne have got a call at 11, so they have got to run. I cannot thank you enough for all that you're doing and for spending the time with us here this morning. I think you can see just from the chat, everybody is so energized. We're so excited to work with you again. So thank you for all you've done in the past and all you're doing in the future. And again,
And
thanks for
thank
being
you,
with
and
us.
thank you, Ellen, Toby, who I know because you and the two of us, all of us have talked over the many years, but thank you to everybody at Red Rocks and for all that you guys are doing, and you give us energy and you give us hope for our country as well. So this energy feeds on itself.
Yes.
That's great.
Yes.
Thank you so, so much.
Thank
Kathy
you.
Rutherford, will you be adding this to the election committee agenda for us to talk about how to
Yeah,
utilize?
I already did.
Perfect.
And,
Great, thank
and
you.
please, we're very good about answering emails.
Yeah.
So any of these questions that didn't get answered or more concerns, and then also the whole risk to Social Security that the Republicans are doing, those are the kinds of things we're going to do with our digital ads, making that really clear. And who in your state wants to make that happen, wants to get rid of Social Security and Medicare. They're so fucking insane.
Thank you. Thank you for
I
saying
just
what we're
wanted to put up billboards that said, are you fucking out of your mind? Don't ever vote for a Republican again. Only vote for Democrats. Anyway,
I love your enthusiasm. We're
I don't
all
know if I
thinking
should,
it.
and this is a PS, I don't know if I should be speaking about this out loud, but in my conversation with Steve, with El Portel, and I know that, is it Scott who's running for mayor, who's on
Yes,
this
Scott,
call?
yes. Uh-huh.
Yes, I think our fabulous Scotty is going to be helping with a digital ad campaign for Scott's mayoral campaign in Sedona.
Oh, fabulous.
You
That would
guys
be
are
very-
very, very lucky if you get Scotty, because he is phenomenal, and good luck, Scott.
That's great.
Thank
We
you.
need
Thank you very
that.
much.
Thank you so much.
Thank
All
you so
right.
much. Good to see you.
take care of you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, wow. This is such a great program. And it's only going to get better too. I mean, it's just wonderful. We have a lot to think about. I think everybody is feeling sort of charged up over that. It was terrific. Our next guest is Jennifer Costa. Jennifer is on here. She is with an organization called Spread the Vote and Project ID. Now, talk about difficult work. I mean, if you have ever tried to change your name, for example, or get ID or a birth certificate, the bureaucracy can just drive you out of your mind. I know this happened to me when I decided I didn't want to change my name when I got married. And then because of a business, I wanted to change my name and I thought I had to. And I had to go to Social Security Administration and the passport office, and just, it was a nightmare. So what Jennifer's organization does is helps people who live in states where ID is required to vote, helps them cut through the bureaucracy and make life easier for them, because a lot of them have so many barriers, even language barriers to contend with. Helps them get the ID they need so that they can vote. And so this is a really, really crucial part of getting out the vote. So welcome, Jennifer. We're thrilled that you're with us today. Tell us all about what your organization does.
Thanks for having me today. So yes, my name is Jennifer Costa, and I work with an organization called Spread the Vote, and also with Project ID and the Project ID Action Fund. And we are a national organization that does work around the country, not only getting voter IDs, but also doing a lot of really heavy get out the vote work, excuse me. So we were founded in 2017 as a response to really the 2016 general elections. And our founder, Kat Calvin, is an attorney, and she watched as the results came in, and was very frustrated with the feeling as if the full protection of the Voter Rights Act was not there with the people that were voting across the country. And one of the issues that she really was concerned about was the lack of the ability of people to get to the polls in voter ID states. And not everybody thinks about this, especially when they're not in a state that has strong voter ID laws, but it makes such a big impact. So we started working in states like Georgia, in states like Texas, in states like Virginia, and we've now expanded across the country, and we're working in pretty much all of the continental US, helping folks to get IDs in one way or the other. Just to talk a little bit more about the scope of the problem, in a lot of areas, especially those where people might be able to get municipal IDs, or in states where they have free voter IDs, people don't realize just how hard it can be to get an ID. And as we started helping more and more people through this process, and we do help them from beginning to end. So we're talking about not just helping people get the tools and resources that they need to get the ID, we're also paying for out-of-state birth certificates. We're paying for new minute records, paying for postage, and paying for IDs themselves. What we were noticing is we were seeing more and more people. The clients we were helping were people that were born in the rural South, that were people of color born before the Civil Rights era, who were never issued a birth certificate. And so we were having to offer legal assistance to get them the records that they needed, because once the Real ID Act passed, it became more difficult for folks that had maybe had IDs for most of their lives to get one. We were working with young adults that were aging out of foster care and didn't have access to their IDs, maybe never had access to their IDs, and the supplementary documents needed to get them. We were dealing with the homeless. We were dealing with the unhoused that had lost their IDs or had them stolen whenever they had their stuff out and about, or they were being thrown away during sweeps of homeless camps. We had just individuals that simply could not afford. The cost for an ID might be $5 in some areas. In certain states, they're well over $100. That's not including any of the documentation that's needed to get that ID. And so as we worked with more and more people, we realized that not only is this important, but that it's very wide reaching. So right now, over 21 million Americans that are eligible to vote do not have an ID. And so it's a problem that we knew that we were not going to be able to fix overnight, certainly just by getting everybody an ID. And that's where Project ID and the Project ID Action Fund came in. And so part of what we're doing, we are a 501c3, a nonprofit organization, but part of what we're doing at Project ID, which is a 501c4 organization, is advocating for more equitable ID laws so that we can get IDs into the hands of everyone that needs them, not just those that need them to vote, but those that need them to get a job, to apply for housing, to get food stamps, Medicaid, cash assistance, to open a bank account, any number of things that you need an ID for. Many cases you can even visit a food pantry if you don't have some kind of form of ID. So we realized again, as we were working through all of this, that we were also running into this catch-22, which is that people were unable to get their state ID without a birth certificate, but they were unable to obtain their birth certificate without a state ID. And so this is where we realized, yes, we need to be out there lobbying, we need to be out there advocating for laws that really make sense. And again, as this evolved throughout the years, we've realized that there are some other things that the people that are living without IDs were facing, and there were some barriers to the polls that we could help and make a difference with. And so we started a program in 2020, which was called Vote by Mail in Jail. And so we are now working with individuals, and not everybody realizes that there are quite a few individuals that are currently incarcerated in county jails that are serving misdemeanor sentences, or who are have been charged with a crime and not convicted of a crime, who are fully eligible to vote, do not realize that they're eligible to vote, and who we can actually help to vote. And a lot of the issues that we're voting on today greatly impact those who are actively incarcerated. And so we have an absolutely amazing director of justice services who's really helped us to put this together over the last couple of years. And what we're doing is getting not only postcards out to people that are currently incarcerated, but working really closely with local sheriff's offices. It's hard work, because each and every county in the United States has a totally different sheriff, totally different views and values. And so in some places it's really easy, in some places it's a little bit of a nightmare trying to get into the system and help people get what they need. So we're not only working with folks with advocacy groups and with the sheriff's offices as well to make this happen, but we're also working with directly with the inmates when we can, to make sure that we're sending out, like I said, those postcards. We're making sure that we can get in there and get them registered to vote. We can get in there and get them their absentee ballots, and that once those absentee ballots are received, that they get to where they need to go. Our average cost to get an ID is about $40. I like to throw that out there just because it gives a little bit of perspective. Like I mentioned before, sometimes it's only a few dollars, but sometimes it can range into the hundreds and sometimes even into the thousands. In states like Florida, where I am, legal fees and fees from outstanding court dates and things like that can start to add up. And over time, people find themselves in such high debt that they simply cannot get that ID, and they cannot go to the polls even when they're eligible. The last big thing that we do as an organization is the voter education piece, and we distribute voter guides. And they're a little bit different than the standard voter guides that you'd see in like a newspaper or that a lot of groups publish, because they're not so much about the issues as they are about the logistics. So what we're looking at is for especially first-time voters or voters who haven't gone in a long time, and those that are living in areas where there might be complicated voting laws, there might be complicated ID laws. We're publishing these guides that let people know, okay, this is what you need to do to make your plan together, to get your plan together, to get out and get to the polls. This is what a provisional ballot is. And this is how they are and are not counted. This is what happens when you vote by mail, and this is how you can do it. This is what happens at early voting, and this is how you can do it. Again, they're very hyper local, so we get them out to major metro areas to let people know. And then just again, really practical information, like this is what a county commissioner does. This is what a mayor does. This is what it means when you're voting on a ballot measure. Because even though I've been in this world for a long time, some of these things confuse me, and the legalese whenever I read a ballot can be overwhelming. And so we're trying to break it down, and we're not saying you have to vote this way, you have to vote that way. We're not even really discussing that. We're just explaining this is how you make your voice heard, and this is what happens. And we want to also be able to provide the tools to them so that they know what to do if they go to a site and they're turned away. If they go to a site and they're told, hey, you have to cast a provisional ballot. If they go to a site and they're overwhelmed because they don't know what ID they're supposed to present. So all of these pieces, we hope, are fitting together to help to remove the barriers to voting, not only for folks that are in voter ID states, but for voters around the country. And that's, in a nutshell, is what we do at Spread the Vote and at Project ID and Project ID Action Fund.
That's a lot. That is a lot. And it's difficult, cumbersome work, I know. We have a question for you, Jennifer, about felons. And do you do any work to help felons get their ability to vote back, or former felon? Well, I guess they're still felons, but.
We do on a case-by-case basis when we can. We have in-house counsel, like I mentioned, our founder is an attorney, and we have attorneys on staff that help with this issue a lot because it comes up a lot. So if someone comes to us for assistance with IDs, and it's someone that we are helping and they need that support in order to get their civil rights restored, we do this. And we have a great group of volunteers in Virginia that was doing this. The laws have changed a little bit in Virginia, but they have offered us a lot of support and help in other states. And we do it a lot in Florida, which is where I'm located as well.
Interesting. Well, that can make such a huge difference in elections. It's just amazing. And this is a somewhat overlooked population. And the IDs are needed for such a wide range of reasons, not just voting. Voting is important, but as you explained, housing, welfare benefits, things of that nature. Any more questions for Jennifer? It's a great group, and it's got such a great goal. Kathy?
I have a question for you, Jennifer. That guide that you were talking about that explained all those important points about an election, how localized do you have it by county? And then I would. Yeah,
it depends. For many of the guides, they're state only, just because we have limited resources. But in larger metro areas and in areas where we have a large presence, in California, they're a little more broken out. And we do one for like Chicago.
One for Arizona?
We do not right now, but we would love to. So we do get the national one out for organizations in Arizona, but it's one of the areas where we can really use support. One of the things I did neglect to mention is that we work really closely with partners across the country to do this work, because as we started developing more and more of an infrastructure to make this happen, and kind of became subject matter experts on getting IDs into hands. We realized when we are working with local homeless shelters, when we're working with local county human services, even rehab centers, jails, as we're working with more and more of these groups, they're coming to us and asking, how can we do this and how can we fund this? And so a big part of our work is training partner organizations to do this work, and then we fund the cost. So we basically, they're able to come to us and say, okay, we've got everything together. It's going to cost $63 to get John Doe his ID, and then we provide that funding so that they can go out there and do that. And so as we get more organizations across the country, that helps us to get our voter guides together, because we have more clients and we get them out there to folks. So we're always very, very open. If you're volunteering with an organization, or if you know of an organization that could really benefit from what we're doing, with training them and getting them our election guides and getting them trained on how to get IDs.
That's great, because we do have a lot of people in our community that are looking for ways to volunteer and make a difference. And this doesn't necessarily mean leaving your house or, doing a whole lot of, canvassing or things that might be a little bit beyond their comfort zone. But doing the research and helping in this area, if they're trained, might really be, it might fill the ticket for a lot of our people.
Yes. And
Good.
for those that are interested in postcarding and a lot of the virtual work that we do, we are always in need of support through our Vote by Mail in Jail program with getting postcards out. We get giant lists together of people that are currently serving time, and we try to get messaging out to each and every one of those individuals so that they can vote if they need to.
So this is also the work that we could help with is after elections, when people need assistance getting their IDs, and we are not going balls to the wall on election activities, so to speak. That might be a good time for us to get involved. So we will keep that in mind as we go forward.
Yeah. And
any more questions for Jennifer before we go back?
I have a follow-up question, Ellen. Have you worked with senior homes also? That's a need in our area where, we have a older population, and we have some senior care areas in our senior care facilities in our area. And some of those people have lost their IDs so long ago, and they do not have the capability to get their ID again. And so they can't vote. So I was wondering about that piece also.
Yes, we definitely work with quite a few seniors. And as far as our eligibility requirements go, anybody that's between the ages of 17 and 100 or beyond, we will work with. And I know that they shot the website down there, and you're welcome to email me as well if you want to be put on our mailing list, or you'd like some more information and would like me to get you in contact with our volunteer director. But also, if you run into an individual that needs help getting an ID, you can actually submit a form right through the website, and it comes actually to one of our staff members who gets the process going.
That's great. Yeah, because I've run into people like that when I've canvassed before. They live in the household. They're not the person you're supposed to talk to because they can't vote because they don't have an ID, right? So thank you for that. Thank you for your work.
Of course, thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Jennifer. We
Thank you.
appreciate your being with us here today. Thank you. Good presentation and an insight into a world that a lot of us never even think about.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for
Kathy, should we turn it back to you for opening remarks?
Sure. So first of all, I wanted to say thank you to all of the speakers today. It was an amazingly good program and I learned a ton. So I want to say thank you to Raquel, to Joanne, to Tracy, and to Jennifer. There's so much information that we got today. And, you know, it encouraged me because sometimes this fight feels like it's so overwhelming. There's so much to do. There's so many people we got to talk to get to vote, but we are not alone in this fight. All the people that we heard today, they are fighting the same fight. The fact that they're creating all those great graphics, now we can use those. It just it feels like, you know, we're this giant team and that we are going to make a difference. I was so encouraged by the whole program. Thank you for putting it together, Ellen. I think it was really, really important. I'm going to share my screen now. Probably most of you already know these stats, but I just in case, I'm going to put up what happened during the primary. And then I have one particular bellwether race that I want to point out. So the thing that I was thinking when I was putting these candidates up, we are amazingly fortunate that we have such strong candidates. You know, Mark Kelly, he is such a fabulous person to be running for US Senate for the Democrats. We just can't, you know, it's just like, he was kind of like packaged for us, wasn't he? You know, being in the military and everything, the Republicans like him too. And then of course we have Tom, who we've had with us for so long, and he's fighting a hard race. And then Katie Hobbs, of course, Adrian Fontes, and Chris Mays. Now, the interesting thing is that we have another organization. They call it the Coordinated Campaign. A lot of people call it Mission for Arizona, but it's not just Mark Kelly. All these candidates are being represented by that organization. And I wanted everyone to know, the ones that I just mentioned, that we are working hand in hand with Mission for Arizona this year. And because we want the same candidates to get elected as they do. Our list is a little longer than theirs, but we're focusing on these key candidates. Of course, we need, you know, a governor who can veto all those horrible bills that are passed by the state legislature. We need a Secretary of State who can make sure that our elections are secure. And we need an Attorney General that can say no to those stupid laws, not stupid, there's a worse word for that, I'm sure, that the Republicans pass. So that team is a great team. And Kathy Hoffman has done a great job as Superintendent of Public Instruction, and she will continue to do that work when she is re-elected. Martin Quezada, the treasurer, he is also vowed to fight against the Republican agenda in our state. And for Corporation Commission, we have Sandra Kennedy, who has been elected to Corporation Commission 2 times. She's going for her 3rd, and we know she's going to get it. And Lauren Kuby, I left the U out of Lauren. And then in our own legislative district 6, we have the brave candidates of Mike Fogel for Senate and Kathy Ransom and Neil Sinclair for the House. So what we need to get these people elected, the key thing we need to get these people elected are votes. You know, I had my husband help. I got cataract surgery on Tuesday, so I can't see very well. And he helped me with this. We looked up a bunch of stats. And the race that impressed us most was the 20, this is for 2020. Or no, this is the primary. But so we looked at the primary and we saw the difference between the number of votes that were cast for Katie Hobbs and the number of votes that were cast for all the Republican candidates. And you can see there is a gap. You know what we do? We build the bridge to bridge that gap. Each action we do is a plank or a brick in that bridge, and that's our job. We have a 14% difference that existed between those 2 races, which is a bit frightening, but it also tells us how hard our work has to be to get to where we need to get in November. There's no action that's too small. There's no action that is insignificant. And it is up to each of us to share this information with everyone we know to get people involved. We need to knock on doors and talk to as many voters as we can possibly do. We have a phone bank going. We have a fabulous organizer, Lama, and she's on the meeting today. And of course, we'll be writing postcards and doing a ton of other things. I have to say, The top key thing to get a person to vote is to talk to them, either at the door or on the phone. And if you can donate some time, as much time as possible to those two activities, that's what we need to do this year, because it is on the line, as many of the other speakers were saying earlier. We have to get these people elected this year. It is just not, the other is, I'm not even going to think about. It's unthinkable. So that's my thing about the election this year. Thank you all who got out to vote this year, who talked to voters already this year, and we're going to continue that work. As far as other things that people like to do and are important during the election, we have Toby Friedman. She is on the screen right now. We're going to send an email out to all of everyone who's on our email list. She is collecting candidate signs. Not all the candidates have signs. Not all the candidates have free signs, but she's finding out which candidates do have signs, so you can put those up in your yards to encourage your neighbors to also vote, and anyone who drives by your home. And so that will be an email that will go out soon. We have a film club. Is Frankie on the call? Because I can't read all the little pictures.
I don't think so.
Okay. Has anyone, I'm not sure if I missed it. Has it been put out yet, Shelley, what the film club will be for this year? I mean, for this month?
No, I don't think she does them in the summer, so.
Oh, so they're taking a little break during the
I'm
summer.
guessing the
Okay.
next one will be next month.
Okay,
I
so
haven't-
keep your eyes open on email for that. It's also up on the website. If you need to know about any of the candidates, let's say you're talking to your neighbor and you want to talk to them about Lauren Kuby, who you don't know much about, all of the candidates are up on our website. Shelley Haken and her husband Woody do a great job with the website, and so we have a bunch of information up there about the candidates. So please go to our website if you have any questions about anything. Save the date, critically important, save the date, October 2nd. It is going to be the DORR picnic, and it's going to be a lot of fun, but more importantly than the fun, I like the fun, but more importantly than that is we're going to see a lot of great candidates that are going to be running in the November election. So please mark October 2nd on your calendars. It will be 3 to 5 p.m. We're working, talk about graphics. We're working on the graphics still. We're working on getting that save the date out as an email. It'll come out soon. But anybody that's on this meeting, please write it down. And if you would like to volunteer, you can just either email at info@democratsoftheredrocks.com. I get that email. We'll need people helping with, set up, tear down, all those little things you have to do an event. And we would love to have help with that picnic. So I'm just seeing if I can actually see our next door breakfast, Ellen.
Our next door breakfast is we're not quite sure. I think it will be on September the 23rd. It looks like we may be moving to the third Friday of the month instead of the third Thursday of the month if we go live, and if we move it to a hybrid meeting where some of us can come in person and some of us can be still Zooming in. Details are still working out, so I don't want to publicize that yet, but it's looking like that may be the case, and we will certainly keep you up to date. There are a couple of other notes that I would like to make, Kathy, on save the dates, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
September 8th, there will be a fundraiser for at Steve Segner's home, not El Portal, but at his home, Steve and Connie, on September 8th for Tom O'Halloran. Unfortunately, we had to postpone the one for him, the meet and greet that we're planning at the library on the 12th of this month, because Tom O'Halloran had to be in Washington to vote on the Inflation Reduction Act. So he was where he was supposed to be. However, if you do want an opportunity to meet him prior to the DORR picnic, which we're hoping he can come to, September 8th. Also, September 16th, there will be a showing at the Mary Fisher Theater, sponsored by DORR. The film will be Inherit the Wind, which is an old Spencer Tracy movie that is terrific, and If you haven't seen it, it will be very interesting to see how far and how not far we've come. So that's the 16th at Mary Fisher at 7 p.m.
Never mind.
And I just want to make another plug for the Tom O'Halloran. If you can't make the meet and greet, please donate to his campaign. With redistricting, he has a more uphill fight than he has had previously, and he needs as much support as we can give him. So please, please support Tom. I think that's it is critically important. Any other announcement? Kathy, you have your hand up.
Yes, I just wanted to point something out that I think people should be aware of within the city of Sedona, because I don't have figures for beyond the city, but only less than 58% of our voters turned out in the primary election. In Coconino County, it was 56.55%, and in Yavapai, 59.13%, again, within city limits. So only 57.84% of voters turned out. We've got this really contested. I put a comment in the chat before when the woman was talking about a pamphlet they have about what does a mayor do? And I was thinking, could we please get a copy of that to give it to the opposing candidate since she has no idea? But this is a really crucial race. And this, with these kind of turnout numbers, is not enough to ensure that we can make sure that our very rational, reasonable, educated, and experienced candidate, Scott Jablow, wins. So I just wanted people to be aware of those statistics.
Yeah, that's really
Kathy, are those Democrats or Republicans or both?
That is the combined numbers of turnout within the city.
And Kathy, on that, I don't know how to raise my hand. I forgot how to do that. It's Scott.
I go back to school for that.
I know. But I have the totals for the election for city council and city mayor and home rule, if you want those numbers.
I have them all. I didn't know if we wanted them since I know not everybody on the call is from within the city of Sedona.
That's what I'm asking Kathy.
That's up to you.
Well, I do apologize. I should have said the city of Sedona figures also, at least the candidates that won in the primary and moved on to the general. I was looking at the Secretary of State's website, so that wasn't there and it slipped my mind. So I want to congratulate Scott Jablow. He is moving on as the Democratic candidate into the mayoral race for November. And I don't know when the last time that happened, but I think it's been a while. And so that's a critically important race, as Kathy was saying. If you knew anything at all about his opponent, yeah, I'd put Trump across your forehead, I think.
Yeah.
And then as far as city council, there are 3 Democrats that won those seats, and so they will not be moving on to the general. That was Pete Furman and Brian Fultz and Melissa Dunn. And so I want to congratulate them also. So they will not have to do a runoff in the general election in November. So congratulations, Scott, and the rest of the city council candidates also. And home rule, in my mind, just to be broad about it, it was basically 2 for 1.
It was 65% to 35%.
Yeah. So it was out, it was overwhelmingly passed. And again, that is an encouraging note, right? Because there were forces out against it, of course. So, and thank you to all the city council members that we have on the call today, Kathy and Holly and Scott. And I don't know if there's others. And Pete's here too. Okay.
Brian Fultz is on as well. I don't know about.
Okay, and Brian.
And JT was on earlier also.
Yeah, I'm excited about the work that you're doing in the city council. So thank you for all of your hard work. Any other candidates that I missed today?
I just want to give you a fun fact.
Oh, go ahead, Holly.
If Scott is elected as mayor, there will be 7 members of the city council that are Democrats.
Yay.
Wow.
So
That is not, there'll be 6 members that are Democrats.
Oh, we're not
do a clean sweep when Scott is elected.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Holly. Thank you very much.
And Scott did come out of this primary election as the highest vote getter.
Right.
So,
That's true.
yeah, I mean, he did so well that should be encouraging to us and energizing to us. But again, if we don't turn out those who voted for Sandy, need to say, they need to come out and vote for Scott, not say, gee, my preferred candidate didn't win and I'm going to sit this out. They need to vote for Scott, or else they're going to end up with a poor Trump impersonation. Could you imagine somebody being a poor impersonator of Trump? Oh my, that's so scary.
Yeah.
And Kathy, I do want to just say one little shout out. During this campaign, Llama has been just a fantastic resource from DORR and a good friend to me. She was so approachable, so helpful. I mean, I know all the assistants that you've had, the coordinators that you've had over the years, but Llama really was or is fantastic, and I appreciated her help.
Well,
Thank you, Llama.
Yeah, thanks, Llama. All right, any other announcements before we go forward with our day?
I have an announcement for everyone. The city of Sedona has a community plan update in process. And the kickoff for that, for the community, is on September 7th at the SPAC, the Performing Arts Center, from 5 to 7 p.m. And all of the public is invited. It's going to be, I think, really beneficial. We want as many people as possible to have their voices heard, because this will be a vision for Sedona for the next 10 years. It'll be approved in 2023/24, early 24. So it's really important that everybody, to the degree they can, this will be the kickoff. There'll be plenty of other meetings. It's going to be a long process, but to hear about it, to understand the process, to start to, formulate a vision, the more people that get involved, the better. So we can, remind you again, DORR can put out a announcement, but I just wanted to give people a heads up to save the date, September 7th from 5 to 7 p.m.
Thank you, Holly. I just realized, I don't think I've said this on a breakfast meeting. I also really want to thank Ellen Ferreira and Toby Friedman for all their work with their indivisible groups and all the members of their indivisible groups. Again, it's part of that team that we have that's fighting the fight. And your groups are so important, including the Liberal Ladies Luncheon. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
I don't know if people know that you might, but Steve, my brain is blanking, Williamson hosts the Democratic Perspectives radio
Steve
show.
Williamson.
Yeah, she's.
Yeah, I thought I said Steve. And it is AM 780 Kazam, KAZM, and it is on at 8:15 a.m. every Monday, and is very informative. So if you haven't been listening to that radio program, you can also go back. You can look on their website, and they have all their old radio programs recorded, and so you can go back and listen to old ones too. It's an amazingly great show, and it's right in between two Republican shows, so maybe the Republicans hear part of it too, which would be good. All right, well, thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful day.